James, I think it's your turn to do the intros, man.
All right, what episode is it?
24.
All right, guys. Welcome out, Columbus DJ Podcast. Wait, whoa.
Hey!
All right, there
There
we
he
go.
is. For real this time.
Welcome to episode 22, Columbus DJ Podcast.
24.
24. Damn. Listen, man. Thank you, Ken and Cameron, man. Thanks for joining us. We love doing this. We started this right after the pandemic started, just to kind of reconnect with all of our DJs. I love it, man. I love talking to Mike. I love talking to all these DJs and listening to your guys' journey, especially you, Ken, who left for 5 years, I can't wait to discuss your production with you. Cameron, get to know you. Episode 24. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, stoked.
No problem. So let's do some introductions here. Cameron, I know a little bit less about your DJ career, so why don't you tell us how you got started, what music you like to play, and kind of what your goals are.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. It's nice to be among legends. You DJ Corrupt, I remember you from Sugar days, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day.
Which sugar is the real question?
Sugar 2,
Sugar
baby.
2, I think. Sugar 2. So it's nice to meet you and talk to you.
Likewise.
I started DJing back in 2013. I was a freshman at Ohio Dominican University. And they had a radio station there. They just redone their nice new radio station. And, I was kind of interested in the music at that time. I'm like, all right, let me give that a go. And so we would play during like class changes and sort of this student area. And that was kind of how it all started. And from there, I started to kind of build my music catalog, get some equipment, and just kind of broke off and started doing, anything really I could, whether it was a marathon or a 5K or prom, homecoming, that type of stuff. Actually at ODU, that's also where I met DJ Leak, which I know you guys know, and he and I were pretty cool back then, and so we would play together. He was a part of the radio station also. Fast forward to today, I've had my fair share of the bar club gigs. Obviously pre-COVID, this year hasn't really proved much fruit in that regard. But most of what I do nowadays is weddings and private events and school stuff. So proms, homecomings, and that type of stuff. As far as my style, I like to consider myself open format. I like to be able to kind of bounce around willy-nilly at my leisure. I would say my favorite sort of the dance, future house, kind of the upbeat stuff. If I could sit around 120 to 130 BPM all night long, I would do it. Because there's just a lot of great music in that genre. But yeah, that's pretty much my my spiel. I definitely hope to get back into the bars and clubs, whether it's this fall or next year, TBD. Fortunately, we have had some weddings not cancel and did go on, so that's been really nice, just to kind of keep fresh at the craft and just kind of experience weddings in a different light with mask on, social distancing, that type of stuff. So yeah, that's DJ Cam.
Nice, man. I really love Future House as well, and I think Columbus is a good vibe for that, or just pop house in general. I think Stevie D has a very similar style than what you're talking about with open format, but likes to stay up tempo and do a lot of that future electronic. But yeah, I would stay optimistic with the bars coming back soon, man. I think if you were doing well before, just kind of keep that same mindset, keep that same work ethic. Especially if you started learning from people like Leak, it sounds like you're involved in the right group. So bars are coming back, man.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much time, but I also got to give a shout out to DJ Kid Basic. He's been a real mentor to me over the years too. Shout out Queued Up Entertainment. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really look forward to is, is kind of just dropping like that future house type set. I've not really had the opportunity to play a lot of that stuff at the venues I play at. It's not that popular at weddings. You know, weddings are very mainstream and that type of thing. So yeah, I look forward to kind of delving into new genres and new audiences too.
I mean, you can ask Mike. I'm always down to bring a DJ in for a showtime or something like that. Give you the opportunities at Dahlia. Usually, what I'll do when I try to get new DJs in at Dahlia is I just ask them to come out and support a couple shows, and then it's a no-brainer. Or as far as like coming out to support the show, just hanging out and watching out. But
for sure.
But yeah, man, that's awesome. It's good to finally meet you. I hope good things for you.
I'll ask Cam a real quick question before we hop over to Ken. Like, Cam, is there like a really memorable performance that you've had? Like something that like sticks out in your mind as like something you're really proud of?
You know, there's been a few. You know, I think one on sort of the prom side, looking at our youth. I mean, it was last year or the year before. I did this 800 kid homecoming, maybe 1 or 2 years back, and just the energy in that room, that auditorium was just like ridiculous. I brought out all my guns, my biggest speakers, my best everything, and ultimately ended up rocking it. You know, it might not sound like much, but kids these days are actually sometimes hard to please. So I'm just glad we were able to come through again and just, you know, come in and do our job best way we can.
Nice. And like you said, like starting out with like, I'm pretty sure we've all done something like with the marathon thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think just doing those like unique type of gigs is only going to grow you as a DJ. Bars become easy. Those kind of things are a lot more challenging in my opinion.
No, for sure. For sure.
All right, Ken.
I was actually going to ask him a quick question. What do you find kids react to these days more? Do they react more to EDM or rap? Like, what's your opinion on that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be like 80% rap, 20%, you know, dance, pop, everything like that. But here's the thing, you know, when you go into these schools, the kids want to hear one thing, but then the administrators don't want you to play those things.
So they don't want you to play WAP or anything like that?
Well, we haven't had the opportunity yet, but I would say that song would probably be on the do not playlist, if I had to guess. Some schools are a little more lenient, but just finding that line. But I would say the most hype comes from, you know, whatever trending rap songs there are. Now, fortunately, as we look ahead to 2021 or whatever, TikTok has been a huge breaking ground for music, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But I'm just going to go through TikTok and, you know, figure out, okay, you know, what are the trending songs on there? And that'll give me a good basis for what I could come to expect once we get into the school.
Nice.
Good plan. I like that.
Yeah.
What age are we talking here?
This is high school. This is, you know,
juniors, seniors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've done the elementary school stuff. Not a huge fan, but anyway.
that would be really hard.
Yeah, man, because like people don't understand like how much work it takes to do that well, and so you charge a lot because you guys know me, I don't like to work with kids that much, so I'm like, I'm gonna charge a lot, and then when they get the pricing, they're like, but they're just little kids, and I'm like, exactly. But yeah, so I'm with you on that, Cam. It's not that fun.
I do have a lot of respect for DJs that can play to real like just all ages type of parties, like, you know, on a vacation or something, you're at a pool and like a mobile DJ shows up and he's just like killing it for like the old people and the young people. You're just like, I don't think I could do that. Like,
weren't you talking about that at like Myrtle Beach? Didn't you?
Yeah, dude. I was so impressed with this guy, and my mom's like you get up there, and I'm like, Mom, this guy would kill me. There's no way. Like,
let's hop over to Ken. Ken, you've been out of the city 5 years, you know, honing skills in mostly production in New York City. Tell us about that, man. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. You know, I lived in Columbus for 7 years. That's where I started DJing and making music. I worked a little bit under Mike, Chang, and James when he was at Sugar Bar too. I used to do that too. My family's from New Jersey, so I decided when I was about 25 to move to New York to be a little closer to the home base. And I got there and decided I didn't want to really DJ anymore. I kind of felt like I'd hit my ceiling as a DJ in terms of like what I could do. I think around then mashups had stopped being a thing you could share and like get hype off of. So yeah, I started producing, man. I'd say the first 2 years I really just sat in my apartment and just taught myself the basics, and it was very technical. It was a lot of lessons. In the past 2 years, I've really worked with some great people and honed my craft and switched from making EDM to pop music. But yeah, man, it's been great. I have met a lot of awesome artists out in New York and saw in a bunch of great concerts, and it's got a great vibe. So I've been grateful to be there and work with the people I've worked with, and put out, like, including the artists I've produced for, I think I put out about 8 to 10 songs this year, and I think we're shooting for another 6 or 7 the rest of the year. So we're just trying to be as fast as possible. I used to really sit around and spend like 6 months on a single song. Now it's very much like throw whatever we can up against the wall. But yeah, it's been great, man. New York's great. The DJ scene there is really hard to break into, which was another reason that I decided to hang it up. But it's been great, guys. But happy to be back and see you guys again.
Yeah,
That's
DJs
impressive.
out there like work for what? They work like 10 to 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. and then they can still get paid only like $200-$300, right? And people are fighting for that. Like you gotta.
Yeah.
It's not like you can be like, oh, I'm only getting paid 200. I'm a slack. Like there's 30 DJs lined up like waiting for that slot. So probably more.
So I was actually gonna tell you guys a story about one of the DJ gigs that I did, to just kind of give you an idea. But I played Webster Hall within like 2 months of me moving there, which I thought was going to be really cool. But
to talk about Webster Hall, because I've been to Webster Hall and it's dope on objectively it's dope. But yeah, talk about it.
Okay, so I was at Marquee because I had a friend who was a promoter there, and I ran into some guy who was like, yo, I know a promoter for Webster Hall, and I was super excited, and I like moved my job around, and I think I sold maybe like 15 tickets to the show. And the promoter the whole time was like, all right, man, we're going to get you like the 11:30 slot in the side room. It'll be a great slot for you and your friends. Everything will be great. I was like, okay, cool. But like never trust the promoter. So Webster Hall is in like South Manhattan in the Village. And I was in Times Square to drop off the ticket money. And it was around 8:30. And I walk up and the guy sits there and I'm like, okay, man, here's my money. I'm going to catch you. And the guy goes, okay, cool. Just so you know, I moved your slot time up to 8:45. And I was like, that's in 15 minutes. And I'm like 20 minutes away right now. And he's like, oh, sorry. So like I had to sprint down, set up shop. And that same promoter tried to sell me on a sell 40 tickets to play the Basement of Space. If you don't hit 40 tickets, we keep the money, but you don't get to play. So it's like those situations you guys were talking about, like it just wasn't worth it from the get-go. So I said, all right, man, I'm going to focus on production. So hopefully one day I can come back and headline and not have to deal with all that shit, you know?
I always wonder, like, aren't these people like at least a little afraid of getting their ass whooped? Like,
Dude.
I mean, if I did that to someone, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I could do this, but I might get my ass whooped. Like, and he doesn't know you that well. Like,
no,
shoot,
but like,
man.
it's just these promoters, man. Like, I don't mean to like discriminate, but they're usually all like 5-foot dudes, so I can tell they're kind of trying to like flex a little bit. And yeah, man, not a good time, but I'm honestly grateful for it. Like, I don't know if I wanted to be DJ until 6 or 7 in the morning as a 30-year-old, so I'm glad I set the gears in motion a little bit earlier.
The Columbus DJ podcast did not advocate for violence, even against shitty promoters. Let me just clarify.
Oh
that.
my goodness!
I
I know for a fact that the New York, I have, you know, I'm not involved as much as you were, but the New York DJ scene is pretty cliquey, and they also are frustrated because it's, for whatever reason, it's hard for some of these guys to get out of New York and play other places. You know, like they don't have they spend all their time trying to be solid at the places they're playing in New York, and then they have like no Not like you can't just be like, oh, I play in New York, book me in Boston. It doesn't always work that way. Because the scenes are so different. But that's, you know, what you went through. I think, you know, everybody goes through something similar, whether it's a festival or, you know, promoting to play. And I, you know, it's unfortunate. That's why if you can, I would tell DJs, like, meet the promoters for sure, but try to get involved with those DJs, or maybe even the manager, whoever books the talent, you know, because then they might be able to give you like a support slot, or, you know. But the side room is always a good look if it's the right time, you know, like,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's always a good move.
I had been in that side room maybe 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, and it was popping off. So I was like, oh, this will be great. But it happens though. But I mean, as you know, James, like, I feel like you as a DJ, you obviously have great songs that have gotten traction, but have you ever felt like there's a ceiling for being quote unquote just a DJ, or do you feel like there has to be some artistry with it too?
So
I feel like that's more of a question for me, right? No.
I guess for both of you. I mean, you guys have both been in the scene.
I'll let you answer it, Mike.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because I have a separate question for him.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because James, you do produce. Yeah. So, like, maybe I'm understanding Ken's question wrong, but you're saying, like, is there a ceiling for someone who's, like, just a DJ?
Yeah, or, like, even just primarily a DJ or something like that. Like, so either way you want to put it.
I mean, yeah, that's a long question, and I think we actually saw some Twitter activity about a question like that. And to me, man, I look at a guy like Mac J. I mean, Mac J was like, I mean, he did the remixing stuff, but he's almost purely a DJ. Chainsmokers kind of got, like, started off as, like, pure DJs, and now they're almost pure producers, it seems. A-Track has hits. Craze might be a good example of someone who doesn't produce. I know he has a label, but he doesn't produce, and really top of the line DJ, but he's not really famous. So maybe there is a ceiling, but I don't like to believe in ceilings, but it would seem that most DJs who do get to that, like, A-list fame threshold at least have remixes or some kind of production under their belt. James, what were you gonna say?
I got sidetracked talking to Kyle, who said on the comments, "I'll play for free. I don't care." I think that's another whole separate conversation we can have about playing free, because there is some, if you DJ just for fun, and you just want to DJ for fun, that's fine. But if you're going to play at, like, an establishment for free, you're not just DJing for fun. You're essentially DJing legit, and you're potentially taking a time slot for somebody that maybe deserves to make some money. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I wanted to talk to Ken, because you were talking about your production. I think that's amazing how far you've come with your production. Can you tell me, like, maybe some artists that you've been inspired, like some pop artists or producers that inspired you to go that direction?
You know, man, honestly, I think I had a paradigm shift around, like, 2016, 2017, where I said, well, I'm not making DJ music anymore, so why don't I base my career more off, like, a Max Martin or, like, a Benny Blanco or something like that. Nice. But, you know, man, it's everything. I mean, if you ever saw me DJ back in Columbus, you know that I like all forms of music. So I'm listening to rap, EDM, pop. But I'd say the biggest people I listen to right now are, I love Dua Lipa. I love K-pop, because I think the production in K-pop is so top notch. And I really like the Chainsmokers and the direction they've gone over the years. I think they did a very easy shift from DJing to just pop music, and I think it was super impressive. But I listen to a lot of, you guys ever listen to the podcast And the Writer Is? It's all the people behind the scenes, and, like, sometimes they get famous people, but I'm really inspired by guys like J Cash, Benny Blanco, the guys that are more behind the scenes. And that's kind of the direction I've been trying to put my career recently, is more producing for other people as well as my own stuff, which is more pop.
I like it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to hop into, like, a group question right now. I'm going to mention this probably multiple times on this podcast, but this weekend, the Tiger Friends are hosting Home Alone 2. It's an online music festival. dedicated to mental health. So we'll be accepting donations. I'm getting to play Sunday at 6 p.m. We have a ton of DJs. We have, oh man, just to name a few, Govin, Modern King, Carlin, man, just tons of DJs, 2 full days, and it's going to be for a great cause. But I want to talk a little bit about mental health and also physical health. Corrupt, I know you have been working your way through a book that you're really happy with. Maybe if we could all just kind of share some tips about our mental health and physical health. And it's not just Corrupt, you know, Ken, we were talking about mental health earlier today at dinner. Cam, you're one of the most level-headed DJs I know. So I think we all have something to kind of add as far as tips for mental and physical health. But I do want to start with Corrupt.
Sure. So this is the book I've been reading. I kind of got inspired because I'm already really big into health and fitness, but this was, you know, after COVID happened, and I heard about this book on like, I think it was just like a Joe Rogan podcast or something. But it essentially talks about your body's ability to heal itself, and really there's 5 defenses in your body. There's, you know, DNA protection, microbiome, angiogenesis, regeneration, and what am I forgetting? Forgetting one of them, but it's about the food you eat and having a balance. And you'd be surprised how many foods that you think were unhealthy that, if done with in a certain amount, beer and cheese can actually be really good for you. It talks about how becoming a doctor, like only one of 5 schools where you can become a doctor make you require a nutrition course, which is crazy to me. Because
Absolutely.
these people, when you go and get a checkup, you know, they're not allowed to tell you about like this type of stuff, like food and health. They're going to try to prescribe something to you. So I thought that was really interesting. But I think being a DJ, I know I saw the notes, being a DJ especially, I believe that it's important to have a balance in your life. It doesn't have to mean that you have to go and be a vegan either. There's ways that you can eat meat, maybe try to eat a little less meat. And then, you know, if you're going to do vegan, do it right. Don't go and get like an Impossible Burger that has like 15 other artificial things on it. You know what I mean? You know, you can
Man,
get
why you gotta
real
ruin
veg.
Impossible Burgers? I'm over here like telling all my friends
Bro,
about Impossible
I'm
Burgers.
telling you right now that if you were to eat grass-fed meat, it's better for you than eating an Impossible Burger. The things that they put on an Impossible, like to make it taste good, is worse than eating. You're actually, by eating a grass-fed meat, these cows that are eating like, and you're saving CO2 in the earth. I'm telling you right now.
It's
Than
better
what
for the
they're,
I
environment.
do know
So
about
yeah,
that.
it's
I'm a
good for the
fan.
environment. So, but anyway, and it talks about vitamin D is huge on fighting viruses, especially COVID, and it's really good for just your overall skin. It's the super vitamin of all the vitamins, and it talks about, you know, multivitamins are actually deficient in the quantity that you need for each vitamin. So if you're just going to take a multivitamin each morning, you know, it talks about um, that's really not enough. And I could go into more of this. I kind of want to actually make a whole like uh, podcast about it one day, maybe off of this one. But it talks about different different diets that you can do. But all in all, it just talks about balance, and that it doesn't have to be expensive to eat healthy. Health is not, it's
Oh,
not a privilege. There are levels to health that can be considered a privilege. I would say that. But I think that anybody can drink more water. Anybody can do jumping jacks. Anybody can, you know, if you have a grocery store, which could be considered a privilege, there's fresh produce. You could actually save money by eating less fast food. But last thing I'm going to say about it is, you know, physical health, the gym is a huge thing for me. I do still drink, and this really helps for that. I burn calories in the gym. It really helps with my stress levels. Our industry can be very stressful if you're doing the whole shabam with, branding, promoting, DJing, producing, all that stuff, booking. And this is just something that really helps with my stress. I don't have stress because I go to the gym, and I try to eat healthy. And I would say the last thing is sleep. You guys need to make sure you're getting your sleep. None of this stuff matters if you're not getting your sleep. Your 8 hours, or 7 hours, whatever. So your body needs that. And I'm sure that this can kind of carry over into mental health as well, because like talking about stress and getting enough sleep. If you're sleep deprived and you're trying to like have a normal day, like you're going to be all messed up here.
Cam, I want to hop over to you. What do we got, man?
Yeah, no, Corrupt made a lot of good points. I think for me, I had a bout of burnout last year, DJing like 3 or 4 days a week. And so how do you manage it? I think what I found is just being able to kind of take a break, get away and do what you enjoy doing. For me, I like to game sometimes. So I'll hop on the Xbox, chill, or I'll, watch some content, YouTube. I have a lot of different things I use to decompress, but I think the key is just finding the time to do it, whether it's in the evening, if it's in the morning. Here lately, I've been just taking, random days off during the week, just because it's important. I have a small family too, so you have to kind of tend to them as well. So just kind of managing your time, I think, is really important. Diet, I don't do very good with. I eat a lot of fast food. We don't cook very much here just because our lives are so quick. So it's much easier to go and place a order, Uber Eats order or pick up a pizza. But we're working on that. So maybe check back with me on that, Corrupt, and see how we're doing. But yeah, I think overall for me, it's just being able to have that time off, just to be able to, take a step back, breathe, rest, do whatever you do, just to reset and get ready for the next one.
Sure. What you got, Ken?
Yeah, man. I mean, these are all great points by you guys. I totally agree on not only taking time off, but also eating a good diet and sleeping. I just read this book that's probably pretty similar to the one James read, called 100 Days of Real Food, that explains, it's a great book. And it also has a huge recipe book too with it too. But basically explaining all the different fillers and additives and things that we put in our food. And, I think we have an epidemic of depression and anxiety, and we see it on the news. And I think a lot of people point to social media, but I really think a lot of it is to do with food. I notice when I do months where I don't do sugar or no processed food, and I feel like $1,000,000. Like my anxiety is gone. But yeah, I think this industry in particular is a pretty tough one because you're up late. There's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of partying. So I think if you're able to dip your toe in that and not overdo it. I definitely know when I was in Columbus, I did. And something else, I was telling Mike about this. I actually found out I was bipolar in like 2016. And I think we need to really destigmatize, especially with people in the artist community, just going to therapy and like being open about feelings and giving people a path forward. Like when I was diagnosed, I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking caffeine, and all those things I think really help even me out. But I think we just got to be open, and we got to have support groups. Like I really applaud Leek, who's not in this, for making a mental health group and all those things. But yeah, man, I think you just got to have a support network and do all the things like you said, take breaks and eat good food and sleep. It really makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed all of it. I mean, especially for me, physical activity is huge. I don't think Corrupt is over here trying to condemn anybody. Like he's the kind of person who's like, he has this information, just wants to spread it around. But like, You know, he's not going to come after you. He's not going to come after Cam for grabbing a pizza for his family at the end of a long day.
I had Chick-fil-A yesterday and today. So like I have a balance as well. So I'm not over here Mr. Perfect Health.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The things that I want to add: surround yourself with great people. You know, it's a lot easier to achieve greatness and achieve success if the people around you also want that for you. And that also counts for social media. So it's you know, really easy to follow a bunch of accounts that, you know, people can be really negative all the time. And just try to balance that out with people who are super positive and who care about you and who have good advice as to make your life better. But I think, you know, we all kind of hit on something, so I don't want to repeat too many. But Leek, I actually just interviewed Leek for a podcast, and he said, try a bunch of things, you know, listen to your friends. I can't believe I actually didn't mention yoga. Yoga's huge. Even if it's 10 minutes a day. Us DJs are always carrying around tons of equipment. We're on our feet for 4 hours. We're dancing. Yoga is awesome for a lot of those things, and just healing stuff within your core and your back. So, I think we have to do this again. Krupp, if you want any help, you know, having a full podcast. I don't know if this needs to be a Columbus DJ podcast thing, but if you want any help, like putting that together, I think that'd be really good, kind of summarizing a couple of the books that you've been reading.
Yeah, definitely. I want to also give props to what DJ Leek is doing with his Just Breathe project. You know, you see a lot of people doing mental health awareness right now on social media, and that's why, you know, it's really good. And now it's just about people feeling comfortable to talk about their mental health to friends and stuff. And I think that's really important, to make yourself available, make people understand that, hey, if anybody ever wants to come and talk to me, I would like to be able to come and talk to you if I need it. Like, I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Cam, I want to hop to you because you've mentioned a little bit earlier that you not only have a family, but you also have another business, which actually is your main business, and DJing is kind of a side business. So you're running two businesses simultaneously. Talk about kind of what a day looks like for you and how you kind of manage your schedule.
Yeah. So I run a web design business, web and marketing, branding, and all things creative, really. That company's called Geek Squared, not to be confused with Geek Squad. They haven't knocked on my door yet, so we're going to keep going.
You're good.
But yeah, I wake up pretty early. Drop my kid off school at 7:45. I go to the office, check my email box, and then kind of dive in whatever I've got. I've got different tools I use to track my task and projects that I work.
I'm starting to interrupt you, Cam. Can you talk about some of those tools? Because I think I know some of them, but I want to know for the listeners which tools like are really working for you.
Yeah, so I use Asana, which is a leading project management tool, kind of keeps you all together. Then I use another platform called Zoho, which handles my billing, CRM, all the different things and automations that I have, you know, when I have a lead come in or that type of stuff. As far as anything else, I would say my calendar is my next biggest tool, because if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening or it didn't happen. I use it really to keep me in check and to make sure I don't overschedule myself. All in all, I will say that it's still a work in progress. You know, just kind of finding efficiencies and synergies among the processes you already have. You know, so yeah, and so then about 2:45, I leave the office, go pick up my kid, come home, we do homework, and you know, just get ready for the evening. I'll probably log in again, do some more work. That's the thing, kind of in my business, you're never really fully detached. So, you know, I'll be in bed on the computer. Really, I'm glued to my computer most of the day, which I'm sure it has its own side effects and you know, things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much a day in the life of Cam. typically from the DJ side, most of my meetings and things are in the evening. So I'll schedule those, after 5, after 6 o'clock. And fortunately, the design business doesn't really require my time on the weekend. So I can go and, do my night stuff or do my weddings. And it all kind of works out pretty well without too much trouble. I'm at a point where, and I was talking to Ken about this, I look forward to having an employee here soon. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I've fully optimized everything internally first, just to be kind of the most efficient and economical possible.
Cam, I was going to ask you.
Oh, go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I know we just talked about how you said sometimes you just take a day off, but you're obviously pretty busy. Do you have like a mental threshold where you say, okay, I need to take a mental health day, or are you able to schedule it in such a way where you can take off? Like, what's your process for knowing you got too much on your plate and you need to take a quick breather?
Question.
It's really tough. I try to plan well enough to where I don't ever get to that point of overwhelmingness. But sometimes you just fail to do that, and you have scope creep and things just kind of wiggle in. As far as taking a day off, if say it's today, what I try to do is just do a lot more work today so that tomorrow I don't have to, worry about it. Or maybe it's not a full day I take off, but a half day. Maybe I'll just start at 12 instead of 8 a.m. But that is kind of the benefit of, kind of working for yourself, is that you have sort of that power to choose how you want to do it. Now, there's going to be a consequence, or maybe not a consequence, but there's going to be sort of an effect of taking that day off. But you just kind of weigh those pros and cons and figure out if it makes sense, or do you just power through and say, you know what, I'll wait till Saturday to take a day off. I can handle it. And sometimes it's not even mental. Sometimes it's just your body telling you, you're not getting up right now. You need to sleep in a little longer. And maybe that comes back to what, DJ Corrupt was talking about, is diet. Who knows how that diet impacts how I feel, so yeah.
Now, did this business stay steady during the pandemic for the most part, or?
It actually increased quite a bit. Everyone and their mom recently has been starting businesses. And so they need, the services I offer. So it's been pretty good for us.
That's good.
Yeah.
The takeaway I got from Cam's thing is discipline, right? Like he talked about a lot of things, but at the core of them is just discipline, knowing what you have to get done, knowing the time frame that you want it to get done in, and then managing your mental and physical health on top of that. Corrupt, did you have any more questions for Cam? I want to hop over to Ken for a production question.
No, I think it's really awesome what you're doing, especially with a kid and you staying on schedule. I think last episode, did both of our guests have kids?
Yes.
Was that right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And it was just really cool to see how they balance everything out. So
does Ben have a kid now?
Respect.
As of.
So yeah, he's
about
to. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we have anything official yet, but yes, it was scheduled.
You heard it here.
Coming soon.
So big shout out to B-Wall Jr.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything is going well with that. But we're going to talk about some important stuff. B-Wall Jr. talking about important stuff.
He's a great guy. Love Ben.
Everyone loves Ben. That's why I can make that joke. Yeah. But Ken, I want to know, and hopefully Corrupt can chime in here, but what was like one thing within producing you had to learn the hard way? I mean, I think we talked a little bit earlier that for me, when I was trying to go the production route, I would spend, 20 hours watching YouTube videos and then spend 2 hours trying to make a song and wonder why it wasn't sounding the way I wanted it to. What was like something you had to learn the hard way within production?
I would say there's 3 things, because I thought about this. One, initially it's quantity over quality, which sounds not true, but you just have to not get attached to what you're making and just make it as good as possible, but initially realize what you're making is probably not that good. So I think I kept making songs and I was like, this is going to be the one, but it's really, it's more of a career than a sprint. And I'd say finding the balance between listening to lessons and actually making music. I think initially I just watched a lot of tutorials, but I think the biggest thing for me, and it sounds cliche, is to just not sound like other people. I think I went through a phase where I was like, oh, let's make a future bass song. Let's make a future house song. Let's make something that sounds like Oliver Heldens. But if you're trying to like copy someone else's sound, it's probably already too late. And you're at the end of the day just making a knockoff of somebody else. So I think just through a lot of time and repetition, you start to find out what your quote unquote sound is, and then you can develop it from there.
Dope. Corrupt, anything you want to add to that?
He beat me to it because I was going to say it in a different way. You know, when you take a tutorial and you put it into a project, you got to know when it's time to actually put your own creative juices on what you learned. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because they do try to duplicate, including myself, because you hear something, you're like, that's awesome, I'm inspired. And then you put it into a project. So yeah, that and sound design is an ongoing project for everyone, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like now, you know, all the chords, all the chord progressions have been done. A lot of the lyrics have been done, and it's in the sounds that people really are finding their uniqueness.
Correct. And
Absolutely.
you can get a patch for almost any genre now, any preset on all these websites that sound just like Fisher and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, all right, what are you going to do? You're just going to put that preset in with the melody you just made and then put drums on it, and you're going to put that out? Like, you don't want to do that. So
Yeah, you don't want to make like Losing It again and be like, yo, look what I did. Like,
yeah.
I was actually going to ask you a question, James, and if you guys want to chime in too, because you guys have side businesses, but like, how do you find the balance between producing, which I think is a much more introverted thing, versus like DJing, which is a much more extroverted thing? And I think for you guys, you know, Mike, you do a lot of content creation, and you obviously have a, you know, website development job, which is very like at the computer. Like, how do you guys find a balance between those two sides of the brain?
Go ahead, James.
Well, the way I produce is I try to get as much as I can done. I don't do every day for a couple hours. I'll do like sessions for like 6 to 8 hours, and I'll do that until I'm done with the project. You were talking about quantity. I try to do less projects and try to do the best quality I can with that project, but I will step away within those 8 hours. I'm not just sitting at a computer for 8 hours. But it's a whole different beast, and it, you know, pre Call of Duty Warzone, I was doing great. You know, pre-pandemic, I made that three song EP, but now it's inspiration is harder to find because I'm not playing a bunch of live shows and electronic shows, and I think it'll come back though. I'm not sitting here, I'm retiring from producing or anything like that. But you just have to take a step back and know, like, if I was to try to make something right now, I just might sound flat. And then DJing is a whole different art to me. And I think it is an art. I think it's important that people realize how you can be, there's truth to being a really good DJ. You know, you can improve as a DJ. But Mike said to me in a text the other day, I don't think there's a wrong way to DJ either. So like there's two truths to that, but you can improve your style of DJing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I don't even know if I answered your question. I just
went
on
you
did.
did.
But like at the same time, like I think, you know, I just look at both of those things differently. So like one is an introvert type of art and one's an extrovert, but you know, I know a lot of DJs that are introvert at both, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it like left brain, right brain type of stuff, like introvert, extrovert. It's just kind of like I either enjoy the project or I don't. And, you know, I enjoy working on the podcast. I enjoy performing for people. I enjoy sitting in front of you know, my turntables and just working on a scratch, because that's like, you know, it's like yoga, it's like meditation. It just clears your head. If you're only focused on one thing, a lot of other stuff goes away. So the reason I didn't like producing is what you were talking about, Ken, is like, I'm going to sit here for 10, you know, if it's a session like James for 8 hours, and maybe I just scrap everything. I did that a lot. So I wasn't enjoying the process. So as I got older, I was like, why am I doing something that I don't enjoy? And I found other things within DJing that I do enjoy. So I don't necessarily think of it as like introvert, extrovert, left brain, right brain. It's more of just like, am I enjoying what I'm doing? And is it progressing me forward versus if I'm not enjoying it, and is it, setting me back, or am I stagnant? So Cam,
Mike, I just think you have I want to give you a shout out because I think you have a huge gift on the way you present tutorials and the way you teach people, the way you talk, the way you answer questions. You gave me that stream tutorial, and I was just overwhelmed with how impressive that was, how professional you are.
Thanks,
and I think if I had somebody like you teaching me how to produce, I'd be the best DJ in the world. Like seriously, man. So keep doing that. So you might not be a producer, but you have a whole nother gift, man.
Thanks, man.
I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but you actually were one of the people who taught me how to DJ. So I can back up the fact that you're a great educator. So thank you for that.
Yeah, if you want to, but honestly, if you want to get better, it's all just selfish, because if you want to get better at something, just teach somebody else how to do it, because that'll make sure that you understand the fundamentals and that you really actually get it. So this is all just a selfish thing that I do to make sure I get better.
Hey, that's cool.
No.
That's just your front, dude. You're not actually.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, I want to hop over to show and tell. Been kind of had some heavy topics recently, so let's just Cam, it's on you.
Yeah, I'm never been good at show and tell. I will say, got a new mix out on Mixcloud / I am DJAXCESS. Feel free to check it out. It's kind of like my first mix show kind of thing that I'm trying. But stay tuned for more in regards to that.
What kind of mix are we talking here?
This is like dance, pop, I guess you'd call it. But to your point, you had talked earlier, Corrupt, about being kind of a mashup DJ, and that's something I've been working on lately. Kind of working with acapellas and instrumentals, kind of independent of each other. So hopefully maybe I can get some tips from you in that regard as well.
Well, actually, Mike made an acapella extraction tutorial, didn't you?
Yeah, Stemverter.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty dope, man. I won't say it's like perfect. It's not like you're getting studio every time, but for those of you who like know what DIY acapellas are, it's like having, you can make a DIY acapella of pretty much any song you want. The guy who made it is a working DJ, which, I don't make too many edits anymore. But it was nice to kind of support them. I think it's something like $60 to $80, depending on whether it's on sale or not. And Cam, I mean, if there's a song where you're like, man, I wish I had that acapella, check out Stemverter. And you can probably get like 98% of the way there.
Right on. Yeah, I've got quite a few just browsing the pools, like live DJ service and stuff. But yeah, I've heard a lot of different mashups, and I think it's just really cool how some of these guys like just mesh the stuff so seamlessly. It's really impressive.
Mixed in key helps for sure.
Works for
Cam,
me.
I want to come back to you, man. You do some mobile DJing events. I feel like a lot of DJs don't actually enter this realm. So what do you think is like the biggest misconception about mobile DJs?
That's a really good question. I've been doing mobile gigs for as long as I can remember, so it's almost like, natural second nature to me. I think part of the reason why they don't is that you have to bring your own gear. I think the loading and unloading of gear would deter people. Purchasing the gear would maybe deter people outside of your mixer. But I mean, mobile gigs are fun, man. Like, you don't really know what you're going to get. Every event's a little different, some similar format, but different overall. So it's just really nice to be able to go out. Maybe you're in a new place, Cleveland. I've been kind of really all over Ohio, and just kind of party with new friends, people you never met, and just, have a good time.
Let's say somebody wants to get into mobile gigs and maybe they buy a couple PAs and they have their own DJ gear. what would you recommend someone do to start getting some gigs? Obviously, your typical social media posts like, hey, I'm ready for mobile gigs, but like, I don't know, because I know you guys have like clients who will talk to other clients now, right? But like, maybe you can both answer those questions for me.
Yeah. So I think for new DJs, a common method is to shadow. So tap into your network and figure out who's actually going out to these gigs in a mobile setting, and figure out if you can tag along, be a roadie, even come spin. That's what I did years ago, and it worked out really well. You first, hands-on experience, you can kind of see how it goes, but you don't really have any of the liability yet. So that would be the first thing. There are many DJ companies who offer like apprenticeships and internships. They'll train you, which, there's good and bad programs for that. Some want you to exclusively work for them, which is a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I mean, really any way you can get the experience first, I would recommend, because it is different in the club. You do have a little more liability. You have to worry about more things. You have to have reliable transportation, which, believe it or not, trip some people up getting their gear, from this place to another. But I will say it's worth it. You can make a lot of money doing it, if you don't mind just the extra legwork.
Sure,
I can answer that too, James. I think just creating, it's a little bit easier if you're a mobile DJ to kind of create your own party, kind of. So at a club, if you were trying to create your own party, you have to talk to the manager. You have to, find a night. Typically, it's going to be an off night. With being a mobile DJ, you can find opportunities where like there isn't a DJ, where maybe there could be, and then kind of tap into that. So if your company that you work for has a company picnic and typically they do not have a DJ, it might be something where you create your own party. Hey, I've started DJing. Maybe you do it for a low rate or for free, especially if it's an annual event. Just get your foot in the door, do a really great job, and kind of create it to where like, well, we had the DJ last year, we have to get it again. How much do you cost, DJ Cam? Okay, cool. We're gonna book you for next year, and then kind of create your own parties that way. So friends' birthday parties. Really anything where people are celebrating, where you could have a DJ, but maybe there's not one already. That's kind of a good opportunity to get in there, get your name out, have your great business cards, which link to your press kit. And man, I'm always going right back to
no. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. But yeah, just having gear, transportation, and watch some YouTube videos, and anyone can get started with mobile DJ. I think it's a lot easier to get started as mobile DJ and then than it is going into the club, for sure. A lot less pressure.
Yeah. You ever done any mobile stuff, Corrupt? Or
yeah, I've done businesses and weddings and a couple proms and stuff, but I don't obviously. I do mostly club, but I would always be interested in going back to doing mobile, if I plan on DJing as long as I can. And I've always been curious on, how that gets bigger and bigger. Usually I would just get an occasional offer because of who I met in the bar scene. Mm-hmm. So, but I agree with you that it's really worth it if you have it all going on with the transportation, the gear. You're basically even if you're working with a company, you might get most of your pay. It could be really good money. But yeah, weddings are something that I always felt like were a different type of challenge. But like doing like a company party or like a house party, a celebration, birthday or something like that, I feel like would be a little bit easier.
For sure.
And then I want to go back to production here. I'm going to relook at my question. Ken, you and I were talking at lunch/dinner about label versus going independent. And James, we've had this conversation as well. So I just kind of wanted to have the conversation on the podcast. What when you let's say you have a really great song, Ken, you just released a really dope, what I think is your best song. Someone thinks you're sexy. I think the views on your Spotify also indicate that this is probably going to be your most popular song. So you have a great song, and now you're trying to decide, am I going to give this to a label, or am I going to release this independently, say through Bandcamp for like $1.99 per download? What are like the pros and cons of each? I want to start with Ken and then go to Corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, I might get a little long-winded on this, but it's something I've definitely looked into. I released my first 2 EPs with a small independent label in Los Angeles, and I thought they were great, but I still felt like I was doing a lot of the legwork myself. When I listen to a lot of music business podcasts, a lot of people say when you get picked up by a big publisher, you get picked up by a big label, you're going to end up doing a lot of the legwork yourself, but you're just kind of in a better network. Independent, you're fronting all the costs yourself, but you're also getting 100% of the profits. Label, they're going to throw a lot of money at you. It's essentially they give you a bank loan to record your music and market it, but they're going to take upwards of 85% of what the end revenues are, and that never goes away. It's not like it's a small loan. You know, I have friends who work for big labels. I have friends who work for big agencies. It just was never something for me. And kind of going back to some weird New York stories, like I've gotten very close to getting signed, and I just always got so close and it never happened. I think it just wasn't something that worked for me. I remember I went out with this guy one night who worked for Skrillex's manager, and we got super drunk, and he sent his music to Skrillex's manager and told me I was going to be signed tomorrow and like all this stuff. And it just never went through. I also was talking to a guy who did radio campaigns for the Chainsmokers and Alesso, and he was promising to set me up with Ultra and all these people. And for me, I'd rather just have more control over my career, and I don't want to go around just begging people to put my music on. But I really like the control I have as an independent artist. The hard part with an independent artist is major labels pretty much have control of radio and most big Spotify playlists, so it can be hard to break through without them. So I'm honestly kind of curious to see, you know, what James has done to help break through the noise and all that stuff. But I'm all independent. All the artists I produce for are independent, and I think there's pros and cons to both. To condense the argument, because I know I just kind of rambled a little bit. A big label is a huge engine that's going to have a lot of people working for you, but you might get lost in the fray with all the other artists. Independent, you're responsible for everything yourself, which is good and bad. So it's a mix of both.
Before we go to James, Ken, what is your favorite music production, not music production, music business podcast? You mentioned that you like a few of them.
I really like this one called And the Writer Is, which they interview high-level songwriters and artists about their songwriting process, which I think is great. But I think we were having this conversation at dinner. I really think a lot of music business gurus are like total bullshit, and I think it's all very top-level, almost self-helpy stuff. And while I think that stuff is great, I don't think a lot of it's particularly useful or actionable. So I listen to more stuff on the creative side that helps me figure out how to be more creative and make better music.
Gotcha. James, same question.
Yeah, I can only speak on my experiences. I think Ken did a great job talking about, you know, big versus small labels and how the contracts work. But, you know, for me, when I pursued a bigger label to sign a track with, I was just going after the exposure and the resources they have to get that track to major artists, get artist support, the promotion, the blogs, the whole shabam there. I didn't expect to make any money because I know how big labels work. Like you said, 80% or worse. I've worked with some mid-level labels that are actually really cool, and they have their own little hustle going on, and they were able to get some major artist support for me. And you know, from my experience, you know, the money has never been like to the point where I was like, all right, I just need to focus on this now, you know. But that's just my experience. And I think I definitely have tried the whole TuneCore thing, the whole small label where I get everything, but they did nothing for me. So then the question becomes, I just want my music on all platforms, you know, and I want to know that they might get it on, they're telling me that they're going to give it to these people. Like, I'm still going to hustle on my end, regardless of what a label or small label. And for me, I've always invested money into myself, into my brand, into my music promotion, but just building myself. So I think it's important to try to pursue the best you can, but honestly, you might find a mid-level to small label that's just going to be more personable to you, answer your emails. But I will say, if you get good enough, you can get a good contract from a bigger label. It might not be your first or second release with them, but if you just send them like, hey, I got these 5 tracks unsigned, like, give me a good deal, I'll give them all to you. Like, they'll give you like a contract that, like he said, sometimes it's a loan, sometimes it's like they'll just PayPal you a bunch of money, like, we'll give you this up front for these songs, like. But then the whole other side of it is like getting your music on commercials, getting your music in movies and stuff like that. That's all more possible with major labels and their resources. So there's pros and cons to both. I've tried both. I'll always keep trying to aim high when I release music, but I at the end of the day, you're gonna have to hustle. You know, unless you got $100,000 that you can spend for a radio slot, and you're DJ Snake or Justin Bieber or some of these guys, I mean, they could make the worst song in the world and it's still going to chart. You guys do realize that, right? Like,
for sure.
Like, the rich get richer when it comes to radio.
Yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking off what James said, I mean, I think one of the biggest problems with being an independent artist, and we talk about when a record label literally writes you a check or a loan, if you want to get your song on radio and you want to get it a major Spotify playlist, you're looking at, no joke, a 6-figure rollout just for marketing. That's not even including the people you pay for mixing and mastering and songwriting. But, you know, you can get on Sirius BPM, you're going to have to pay someone $5,000 to get on it, and you'll get on it for a week and it might not get you that much traction. But it's definitely a numbers game. And like James said, it's really hard. There are really high barriers to entry to get into that mainstream top 40 radio stuff. So you got to be very confident you're going to make your money back.
Cameron, do you have any questions for these guys about the music production game?
Yeah, man. Like I've sort of always been interested in the production side. But more specifically, I've always wanted to like drop like some vocals on a track. So like, for example, taking one of your tracks, Avanti, and, you know, laying the vocals for it. One song that I really like here recently is that Joel Corey song, Head and Heart. Maybe you guys have heard it. But the vocals on that is a guy, I believe, or, you know, but I'm like, man, I could sing just as good as this person. If only I could find someone who can produce the track. So I was just thinking like, man, how could I wiggle this to try to like see if we can make, you know, but I look forward to, like I mentioned, doing the mashup stuff, but mostly I think in like a live format. Maybe someday. I've got Logic on my machine. Maybe one day I'll kind of dig a little deeper. I've got a little, you know, MPC keyboard thingy I've played with a little bit, but as of right now, I'm going to stick to mixing other people's music and see where it goes. But I really appreciate that breakdown from you, Corrupt. That was a pretty.
Thanks. I was going to say, Ken's going to agree with me on this. We like people like you that are like, I could throw in some vocals. Because we'll just sit here with a track, and we're like, where are the vocalists? Where are they? Like, they're so hard to find, man. So, like, it's just cool. Yeah. It's funny that you say, like, man, I want to find somebody that produces beats. We're like, where's the vocalist? Like,
dude, I literally was like, let's go right now, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. Get them on the club list. I actually follow a question based on what Cam was saying. So and I don't know anything about this, but it's I have an idea that it's hard to make a great track, right? Once you get good at production, it's not hard to make a great track. What's hard is to get a hit. Is there truth to that, Ken and James, or is making a song just as hard as promoting an amazing song?
You want to go first, James?
Yeah, like there has been times where I've made a track and I'm just like, this is gonna be a hit. This is my song. Like, this vocalist killed it. I've got early support from this person, whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, man, it's like, you want to make a hit. You live in Columbus, Ohio. You're an artist that you're already battling an uphill battle. Just being in the Midwest, right, and not being in like Germany or the UK or LA or Miami. But I never looked at it like that when I'm actually like working on promoting a track. I believe Columbus is great, and it's next to Detroit, it's next to Chicago. But making a hit is about perspective and getting it on the radio, because I feel like, I'm not saying that I've made, like top 40 Billboard music, but like always will wonder, if I had the funds to really get behind one of my tracks, what could have happened. But like, it's not really fair to ask those questions and like, stay the course. I don't know if that's even answering your question.
Yeah, maybe, because like, here's what I'm saying. I can play, and I can say this confidently, I can play Ken's new song, Corrupt. I can play, and I plan to play on Sunday, your song, My Type, alongside a bunch of big name EDM artists. Ken, I could play that song. I could hear it in a Gap commercial. I could hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
And it sounds the same, right? Like, if you heard one, no, you wouldn't be like, oh, this is an independent artist versus this is Justin Bieber. You could hear it the same, minus like, their voices, whatever. But to me, it's like, that's not the hard part. Like, that part is hard, but that's not necessarily the hard part. The hard part is promoting it. Is that the case? Like, you guys have made songs, like you said, Corrupt, that you thought could have hit. So then isn't the hard part, like, getting it to the right person at the right time? And yeah,
I mean, think about it. Like, we're musicians, or we're artists. We're creatives. Like, we're not promoters. Like, that whole thing, that's not what we signed up for. Now we're learning it, and we're going to do it because we care about our careers and stuff. But like, talk about an introvert having that problem. Like, they don't want to be out there on their social media taking a selfie and like getting on TikTok and stuff just to promote a song. Like, there's so many different things you have to do now, especially now. It's like, to get people to even pay attention. There's so many producers,
Ken, what would you say?
I agree with everything James said, and I don't think it's a one or the other thing in terms of like, is the creativity harder, is the marketing harder? I think it's both. I think if you put a crappy song on top 40, people are going to know and they're not going to react to it. Just the same way you could have a top 40 level song that doesn't end up on the radio for a variety of reasons. I think there's an art form to music, and I think there's an art form to promotion and music marketing. Sure. And that's why I think you look at a guy like Avicii or a guy like Marshmello, they have very competent managers that make the moves that they need to make in order for them to just stay in the studio and make music all day. But then they're doing all the rollouts and the videos and all that stuff. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about the music industry is like, it's just Marshmello and a manager. Like, Marshmello is probably like a 20-person company when all things are considered, in terms of like social media, photographers, all those things. So I think it's like a 3-part thing where it's like, is the music good? Is it relevant to what's going on? And does it have the right marketing behind it? And that's what pushes it into the stratosphere of like making it a hit.
Awesome. That to me, I know we went a little bit long there, but to me that was really interesting. So thank you guys for shedding some light, and Cam for adding on that secondary question. But I want to know what you guys are listening to lately. We call this Tastemakers. We try to actually talk about music on this podcast. Corrupt mentioned Lil Wayne's album last week, and that's what I listened to this week. And then the rest of it has been listening to like 2011 to 2014 progressive house, preparing for my set on Sunday. So a ton of Don Diablo, Swedish House Mafia, Cascade, all the guys you want to hear at like the Sunrise set at like EDC or like the last set at Ultra. So that's what I've been listening to. Corrupt, appreciate your call on the Lil Wayne album. It was lyrically phenomenal.
Yeah, man.
But Cam, what have you been listening to, bud?
Yes, I mentioned that Joel Corey track earlier. I listened to quite a bit of like Sigala. Calvin Harris is always, well, I shouldn't say always, but he's always been kind of a regular for me. Who else? MK out of Detroit. I don't know if you guys follow MK. MK
Love
is
MK.
so legit.
I had a conversation with Petey last night about booking him. I'm just saying. Nothing's confirmed, obviously, but
that would be super. Are we talking Dahlia maybe potentially? All right.
He was a lot of money pre-COVID. He was a lot of money, but like I'm a huge MK fan too. So go on.
Sounds like a Gala Park opening day party to me.
No, I'm saying
low key. Other than that, I mean, obviously I listen to a lot of rap. I've been listening to a lot of Young Dolph lately. He gets me super pumped up. Gucci Mane, and that's pretty much it. You name it, it's diverse.
I like this. Yeah, it's good variety there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ken?
Like I said, man, I've been listening to a lot of K-pop. I really appreciate the whole component. It's all very like cinematic, and it feels like a blockbuster song every time. I've really been getting back into house recently, like a lot of chill stuff. Like I love this type of stuff that Intel makes, especially if I'm just kind of doing work and zoning out. And
check out Bakovan as well.
Okay, I'll check him out. Other than that, man, I got into this artist recently named Trip, who I met in Queens before I moved. He's like a SoundCloud rapper, but I'd say there's a lot more lyrical content than a lot of stuff on the radio. It's not about partying or anything. It's all about like relationships and life. But say those three. And then I always have like a soft spot for old school like emo and punk and all that stuff. Like that's always my go-to if I'm in a good mood, bad mood, working out. But I definitely
Did you go to the Warped Tours and stuff?
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah.
And before Corona, I saw A Day to Remember, which was an awesome show.
I'm playing their song on Sunday as well.
Hell yeah! Which one?
It's a remix that they did. Hold up. It's the one they did with Marshmello. They did the vocals.
You know, I saw them live and they played that song, and I wasn't sure what the crowd was gonna react to it, and they loved it. Like,
I think it's great. I mean, I would have never known it was. I just think it's cool that like for a festival, like, you know, you want to incorporate a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but to incorporate a little bit of metal was kind of cool. And I want to ask you, like, when you say K-pop, are you talking like BTS and Blackpink, or are you going a little bit deeper?
I go a little bit deeper. I like these groups, ITZY and Mamamoo and Twice, and they bounce between being that Blackpink super hard, and then some of them are just like super cheesy, happy house music. But I'm really impressed by the spectacle, the fact that they mash up like 8 genres and the music videos look like movies. I think it's like the future of music is stuff of that magnitude. If you're a blockbuster artist, like the production value across the board is just so captivating.
I agree. James,
can you send me like a K-pop song? Because like I don't know anything about it, and I the last time I even heard of K-pop, I'm pretty sure DJ Jeopardy would come up to me and jokingly ask me to play K-pop.
Yeah,
you have to play How You Like That or Kill This Love by Blackpink. Those will actually go decently at Dahlia.
Okay.
I'd say like 11. Well, I said 11:45. The club's closed. I'd say like 9:45. If you drop that, like kind of as you're getting into your higher energy stuff, people know it, and it's got a real nice. Like it's objectively a good song just by the bass.
People don't realize how big K-pop is. Like that, How You Like That song, it hit 150 million views on the first day. Like it's just,
195 million right now.
yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. But
right.
yeah, I'll send you a couple things when this is all done.
Cool. Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. I'll get up in the morning, get a coffee, get that. This week I put on, or this morning I put on some Janet Jackson, Escapade, Miss You Much.
Yep.
Just started dancing around my house, get the caffeine rolling. It's a different vibe than what I usually bring to what I've been listening to weekly. For hip hop, we just celebrated my boy Vel's birthday over the weekend at Dahlia. It was magical. It was fun. He got me on that Future Lil Uzi track. I think it's called Head Over or Over Me or something like that. Hold up.
Is the one that
it's really good. Over Your Head, Future Lil Uzi. I like it. It's got like a kind of like a outer space beat vibe to it.
If we did add some production value to the show, like a big old intro, it would be right here, right before tips for listeners. I'd run the reel. It'd be like a hype video, like with all like the best tips. Yeah, guys, tips for listeners. We do this every episode. Try to offer advice to DJs and listeners that hopefully they haven't heard before on this podcast or otherwise. There's something that's special to you. So Cam, what is your tips for DJs?
Tips for DJs: keep practicing. Always practice. Okay, and stay fresh on your music too.
All right. So we've had both of those on the show. So I gotta push a little harder.
Mike was gonna come after you, bro. You can't just put blood in the ocean.
No, bro. We're looking for something a little bit deeper there. Okay, so
a little deeper.
Talking about practice, because we've had practice a number of times.
Okay.
What do you actually mean about practice? Does it mean like practicing your sets? Does it mean working on scratches? Does it mean planning for things that go wrong? So one thing that we used to do at Buckeye Sounds was you used to practice your set, and then you wouldn't know this, but someone was going to walk over here and unplug your power cord. So is it that type of practice? Is it cutting? Is it mixing different records? Like, what do you mean by practice?
Yeah, I say practice is a couple of things. One, your technique. So whatever your style is, if it's just beat matching, if it's scratch, just practicing that with maybe different songs or creating new transitions for songs that you haven't kind of combined before. I think number two is sort of your set list, kind of, but a little deeper as far as your is planning out what songs carry the energy that you're trying to maintain, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I've not done a great job of that. I'm trying to get better, but even for me, I find myself sometimes searching for tracks. And the song's counting down. I'm like, okay, what am I going to play next? So I'm really trying to get to a point where I don't have to do that, and I'm kind of already ready to rock and roll. Now, I'm not saying that's every song, but sometimes, you're 20 minutes into a set and you're like, okay, now I'm going to go up. Yeah, exactly. Now what? So I just want to have a little bit more, leeway, so to speak, or headroom when I'm doing sets. But that's kind of how I consider practice. Yeah.
All right, we'll let it slide. Ken, what do you got?
I think you got to practice first and foremost.
Damn it, Ken.
It was like literally right before we came in, Mike was like,
"Oh, don't tell him that. He's going to feel bad."
No, I was just joking. But honestly, man, for production, I think just collaborate with people. It sounds so basic, but it makes you a lot better, a lot faster, and it's also a lot more fun. Like, nobody wants to sit in their apartment or house for 8 hours a day by themselves just making beats. I think when you have people in there to vibe with you and have fun and bounce fresh ideas, I think that's A, more fun, and B, a way to get quicker because you're taking in new information faster.
I'll take the bounce fresh ideas part from him. That's like with friends. I think that's a good tip.
Sorry.
Bounce fresh ideas with friends. That's a good tip.
Yeah, I remember reading this thing somewhere where LMFAO, when they were producing music, would have like 10 club people hanging out with them. and they'd be like testing the music in real time, and they'd just be like getting drunk, like, yeah, and like it sounds super unprofessional, but it works.
Their whole career is a movie.
Market research.
Exactly.
That is.
Yeah, it's a real
That's
tone
good.
focus group.
I actually have a tip too this week. Listen to, if you guys don't listen to DJ podcasts, the Road Podcast is my favorite. My favorite DJ also has one as well, but the Road Podcast is my favorite. It's 4 guys from LA, spanning 4 generations of DJs, and they do a great job. But this episode that they did, they had, oh no, I'm going to forget his name. Basically, there's this party in LA called Banana Split. It was DJ AM, who I hope you all know. It was Steve Aoki, and this other guy who I'm forgetting the name of it, and that makes me feel terrible. But the third dude was the one on the podcast, and he was talking about the party Banana Split, which spawned DJ Aim's fame, which spawned Steve Aoki's fame, which spawned LMFAO. Lady Gaga paid to play there. So when she was trying to come up, and it was like really like a DJ's party. It was a party for DJs on a Sunday in LA, and I think it's like required history for DJs. So check out the Road Podcast. I'm actually, while Corrupt talks about the next thing, which is 614 releases, I'm going to look up the DJ because it's fantastic.
And that was DJ. What was the title again?
The Road Podcast. It's Reflections of a DJ. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on the podcast app. And it was... Oh no, because I already listened to it. It's not going to show me. Keep going, Corrupt. I'll give you in a second.
Yeah, so we got 614 releases every episode. Mike's going to have the releases, but 614 Apparel is a sponsor here on the Columbus DJ Podcast. Really awesome apparel, really good guys. We're supporting their local come up here in Columbus. We're actually going to be throwing a 614 party here soon at Dahlia, where they're going to come and like promote their gear. I think they're going to give some shirts away, and like you can buy some things there. A date will be coming soon. I know it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'll definitely be posting that to the Columbus DJ Podcast when it comes out. But Mike, you got the releases, right?
I do. I'm pulling them up right now. Oh, and by the way, that DJ was DJ Mike B. And he goes, it's the DJ Mike B on Instagram. And again, that it was DJ AM who would close the night. Steve Aoki was in the middle, and then the Mike B would do kind of all the early slots. But epic party. I would argue it's a historic party for DJs. And yeah, so I'm gonna pull up our.
And by the way, we're always looking for new artists, DJs, producers in Columbus or that around Columbus to send us their music so we can promote it on here. It's pretty cool. Like, we're going to get behind it. We're going to push it for you. We're just looking for people that are putting out new music. I know we've got a lot more than what we're being sent. So send us your music. Ken, when you get that track out, we'll obviously promote it for you, give you some, show some love. Yeah.
Yeah, have you guys, I think I mentioned it to Mike, have you guys thought about bringing Chad/Discognition on here at all?
Yes, we have thought about it. He's on the list. I just have to reach out to him.
Gotcha.
The time difference kind of hurts us a little bit because he's out in LA.
I can see that.
But we have no 614 releases for this week, which makes me sad. But if you're watching this on YouTube and you're thinking, I released a mix, I released a song, I want these guys to talk about it, there's a link in there where you can just plug in your name, the song, the release date, all the information that you want me and Corrupt to talk about, and our special guest. So again, guys, set up your MailChimps, send me the links. I will, you'll guaranteed have 1 subscriber, probably 2 with Corrupt. And anytime you're releasing a mixtape, anytime you're releasing music, we will talk about it. So, yeah, I think that we have talked about it the last few weeks. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Guys, where can people find you online and in person? And Ken, when you do yours, I'll probably go to you first. Talk about your latest release if you can.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, YouTube. I don't really use SoundCloud, Spotify, obviously. But my latest release was this disco dance song called Someone Thinks You're Sexy that I'm super proud of. I also put out 2 songs in August for other artists I produced for, AMC and Missa. And my brother's first song I produced also comes out on Friday. That's Rob Connolly. So yeah, follow me there. There's links on
Your IG.
IG is
sure
Avanti Music NY. So AVANTI Music
Gotcha.
NY. Yeah, that's where everything comes up.
Cam?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Instagram at I am DJ Cam or IamDJCam.com.
Awesome.
And on Mixcloud / I am DJ Cam. Check out my latest 2010s dance pop mix.
Hell yeah.
And Ken, we didn't get to talk about, you released something else recently, and I know you've been working on this for a long time because you called me about it. The history of house music, the disco version. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. That's my fault. But it's on my list. I think you released it yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was two days ago maybe, but same difference. Yeah. Yeah. So when all these riots started happening, I really wanted to kind of take a deeper dive into the music that I write and the history of dance music, and just, I guess, refresh myself and try to look into the people that made it and if anyone had been forgotten in the process. So I have a 3-episode series coming out called History of Dance Music. There's a disco edition, a house edition, and a funk edition. And it started when I made a disco song, and I kind of had a thought. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I was like, what's my place as a white artist making disco music, which is predominantly made by Black people and African Americans and LGBT people? So I said, like, I can't undo my influences, but I can at least pay tribute to the people that helped make this music. So yeah, the first one is a 12-minute video. It's a mini documentary on the rise and fall of disco, how it started in New York, how it came to be, the subtle like racism and homophobia that was part of the anti-disco movement.
Subtle, I don't think is the word.
Yeah,
I think
subtle isn't the word.
Yeah, they
But,
what they did. Oh man.
Yeah, and to me, I never knew that. I just thought like John Travolta in a suit, and when I looked into it, it was crazy. But you know, just if you're interested in music history like I am, I had a ton of fun making it. I'm really excited to do the house one too, because you know, I learned that house music was just made by like poor African American kids in the hood of Chicago, and as a, you know, as an art form that I think is predominantly dominated by like white European dudes now, I think it's interesting to look back at how it came to be and, you know, why those people were never really accepted in the mainstream when push came to shove. So yeah, check it out. It's on Instagram and YouTube now.
And I know we want to wrap up here, but short history lesson. I'm pretty sure that a baseball team or a baseball diamond actually sponsored an event where everyone would come and burn their disco records. And if you're thinking, oh, a couple people probably did that, you need to do some YouTube searching because it was fucked up. Let's be real honest.
Yeah. I'll just say that real quick. It was called Disco Demolition Night. It was organized by a bunch of rock DJs who had lost their slots to disco DJs. The White Sox actually had to forfeit 2 games because riots broke out, and they were literally blowing up records in dumpsters in the middle of Chicago White Sox Stadium. And a lot of people said it wasn't just because of disco. It was a very like anti-Black backlash. But I think the ironic thing is, you know, then I'll stop talking. I love rambling about this shit. But the ironic thing is house music was started in Chicago about a year after. So they tried to stop it, but it just got rebirthed in the hometown. So it was cool to see.
Can't stop the house.
No, you cannot. Guys, anything you want to talk about before we depart here? I think this is a great episode. A lot of information, some heavy topics, which we like. You know, we're in a fun industry, but you know, we can get down with some real life stuff. So anything you guys want to talk about?
I just appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully we can all kind of collaborate one way or another, in person or virtually or however it makes sense.
Dude, send me your vocals. I'm down. Let's go.
We appreciate you guys, man. Like, hopefully we could all get together and be in a, safe, virus-free environment soon. Let's get all on a show together or something. Definitely can get you some future house DJing in your near future.
For sure.
Ken, I know you don't visit all the time, man, but you're always welcome.
Yeah.
Come kick it. Let me know when you're coming in town. Give me an advance. I'll try to make something happen for you.
That'd be great, man. Thank you. And I just wanted to say, kind of piggybacking off Cam, I know I've been gone for 5 years. I'm really glad you guys had me on, Cam. It's been awesome hearing from you. You got a really interesting life, and it was cool to hear it. But, I'm glad you guys are still homies, and I'm glad you guys are not only still killing it in the same regards, but evolving and doing new stuff too. So props to you guys, and thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got to go to New York, guys. We got to go.
I know.
Dude, I will bring you guys to a warehouse party that goes till like noon the next day if you're down. So
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the kind of positivity I need in my life right now.
Yeah, man.
Electric Zoo is also pretty dope. I don't know if it's happening soon, but Electric Zoo, if you guys are festival kids, like it's a legit festival. It's on Randall's Island. Take a ferry there. It's really dope. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening, you learned some history. You got some DJ tips.
Health.
Yeah, health.
Like
we're out here, right? So like the video, help other DJs find it, subscribe for more. And we'll see you guys next time. If there's something that you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments, something kind of question that you have. I read every single one and respond to the ones that aren't ridiculous. So just ask good questions, and we will see you next week, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. DJ Corrupt, take us out.
Episode 24. Thank you guys so much. It's been real, man. You guys be safe. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah,
Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much.
lot, guys. Peace out.
Later, guys.